Welcome to aminacademy.com. Let us do history of the Greek world in the Hellenistic period. Although Alexander had several children from his different wives, he did not live a hair old enough to take power upon his death. Indeed, his only son, Alexander IV, was only born several months after his father's death. Instead, Alexander's most talented generals turned against each other in a contest for the control of the empire that they had helped create. These wars of the Duodochi, as they are known in modern scholarship, ended with a partition of Alexander's empire into a number of kingdoms, each ruled by dynasties. Of these, the four most influential dynasties which related power for the remainder of the Hellenistic age were the following: Seleucus, who took control of Syria and the surrounding areas, thus creating a Seleucid empire; Antigo's Monophthalmus, the one-eyed, who took over the territory of Asia Minor and northern Syria, established the Antigonic dynasty; the Attalic dynasty, which took power over the kingdom of Pergamon after the death of its initial ruler, Lysimachus, a general of Alexander; that Ptolemy, Alexander's most influential general, who took control over the Egypt, establishing the Ptolemaic dynasty. The most imperialistic of Alexander's successors, Seleucus I, Nicator, took Syria, swiftly expanding his empire to the east of encompass the entire stretch of territory from Syria to India. At its greatest expanse, this territory's ethnic diversity was similar to the Alexander's original empire. The Seleucus adopted the same policy of ethnic unity as originally practiced by Alexander. Some of the Seleucus' later successors, however, attempted to impose Hellenization on some of the people under their rule. These successors had difficulties holding on the Seleucus conquest. A notable exemption, Antiochus III, attempted to expand the empire into Anatolia and Greece in the early 2nd century BCE, but was ultimately defeated by the Romans. The empire's story for the remainder of its existence is one of the almost constant civil wars and increasingly declining territories. The Seleucids seems to have had a particularly antagonistic relationship with their Jewish subjects, going so far as to outlaw Judaism in 168 BCE. The Jewish holiday Hanukkah celebrates a miracle that occurred following the historical victory of the Jews led by Judah, Judah Masabi, over the Seleucids in 165 BCE. Shortly afterwards, the Seleucids had to allow autonomy to the Jewish state. It achieved full independence once from Seleucid rule in 129 BCE. In 63 BCE, the Roman general Pompey finally conquered the small remnant of the Seleucid Empire, making it into a Roman province of Syria. Now we'll discuss further about the points of Hellenistic period of Greek history. The Hellenistic period was a time in a Greek history that lasted from the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BC to the rise of Rome in 31 BC. It was the time of great cultural, scientific, and artistic achievements. What happened during the Hellenistic period? Expansion of Greek culture. Greek culture spread throughout the Mediterranean, Middle East, and as far as India. Mixing cultures, Greek cultures merged with the cultures of other peoples such as the Egyptians and Persians. The Hellenistic period was a time of great cultural change in the ancient Greek world. It began with the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BCE and ended with the rise of Rome in 31 BCE. Art. Hellenistic art was characterized by intense emotion and dynamic movement. Sculptures depicted new subjects such as the defeated, the old, and the sensual. Architecture. Hellenistic architecture rejected the mathematical ratios of classical temples and mixed local and Greek elements. Grand monuments and ornate decorations were built, such as the Pergamon altar. Philosophy. New philosophies and theories were developed, including Stoicism, Epicureanism, and Pyrrhonism. Science. There were a great strides in scientific understanding, including the work of Euclid, Archimedes, and Hipparchus. Literature. Alexandrian poetry flourished. Religion. Greek religions extended to include a new gods such as the Greco-Egyptian Serapis and a syncretism between Hellenistic culture and Buddhism. The Hellenistic period was a time of significant change in Greek religion, with the spread of Greek religion to new areas, the incorporation of other religions, and the rise of new religious movements. The Hellenistic period lasted from 323 BC, the death of Alexander the Great, to 146 BC, when the Romans took over Greece. The period was marked by the spread of Greek culture and the rise of new independent governments. The Hellenistic period was a time of spiritual revolution, with the rise of new religious movements and the transformation of the old cults. Change to Greek religion during the Hellenistic period. Spread of Greek religion. The Greek religion spread throughout the Mediterranean, most notably to Italy, where it influenced Roman and Etruscan mythology. Incorporation of other religions. Deities from Egypt, Anatolia, and Syria became part of the Greek mythology. The rise of new religious movements. New religious societies called Thesoi emerged, which were dedicated to the worship of a particular deity. Questioning of the role of religion. The rise of intellectual debates led many to question the role of religion in their lives. Philosophical movement during the Hellenistic period. Platonism followed the teaching of Plato. Epicureanism, the philosophical movement that questioned the ethical considerations surrounding animal sacrifices. Pyrrhonism taught how to attain inner peace by suspending judgment. Cynicism expressed contempt for convention and material possessions. Education. During Hellenistic period, education in Greece was a key part of participating in Greek culture. The Greeks brought their educational system with them wherever they settled, and it continued to flourish under Roman rule. Education for boys. Boys learned to read, write, and quote literature. They learned to sing and play an instrument. They were trained as athletes for military service. They studied to become effective citizens. Education for girls. Girls learned to read, write, and do simple arithmetic. They almost never received education after childhood. Types of education. Formal, provided by public school or a hired tutor. Informal, provided by an unpaid teacher in a non-public settings. Notable schools. Plato Academy, established in the first half of the 4th century BC. Aristotle's Peripatos, built on a grove sacred to Apollo Lycois. Stoic school established in the Zeno of Kition. Capos school established by Epicurus. Influence on Roman education. Romans adopted Hellenistic education, including Greek public schools. Young Romans studied Greek letters and Greek rhetorics. Some Romans went to Greece to participate in higher studies. Some city states established public schools. Boys learned to read, write, quote literature, sing, play an instrument, and train as athletes. Girls learned to read, write, and do simple arithmetic. Expansion of Greek culture. Greek culture spread across the Mediterranean and as far away as India. Greek culture merged with the cultures of ancient Egypt, Persia, and other non Greek peoples. Establishment of Greek monarchies. Alexander's successors established a Greek monarchies that controlled a large area, flourishing of the arts. There was a great flowering of arts, architecture, literature, and science. Development of new philosophies. Hellenistic philosophers developed new theories and philosophies, such as the ideas of Epicurus and Diogenes of Cynic. Scientific discoveries. Hellenistic period was a time of great scientific and technological progress in ancient Greece. The period lasted from the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BCE until the rise of Augustus in Rome in 31 BCE. Scientific discoveries. Medicine, the study of the heart, vascular system, nerves, and brain advanced during this period. Galen of Pergamum, the last great physician of antiquity, based his physiology on his dissections of apes and pigs. Mathematics. Euclid, a mathematician, wrote Elements, a textbook that presented all the known geometric theorems of the time. Astronomy. Antikythera mechanism, discovered in 1901, exhibited the motion of the sun, moon, and 5 planets. Geography. The Greeks developed the latitude-longitude system for navigation. There were many scientific discoveries, including the work of Euclid, Arithmetic, Archimedes, and Hipparchus, who lived during the Hellenistic period. Aristotle, the father of the modern sciences. Menander, the author of the great comedies. Epicurus, the moralist who argued that the pursuit of pleasure and happiness was the most important thing in life. Euclid wrote a book of elementary mathematics that was a standard textbook for over 2000 years. Archimedes, most important contribution to engineering, including machines used against the Romans, is Archimedes. Hipparchus transformed Greek mathematical astronomy from descriptive to predictive. Hellenistic kingdoms. The Hellenistic period was a time in Greek history that lasted from 323 BCE to 31 BCE. It was a time when Greek culture spread throughout the Mediterranean and Near East, and when Greek and non-Greek cultures merged. Alexander the Great's death. Alexander the Great died without a clear successor, so his generals divided his empire into kingdoms. Spread of Greek culture. Greek culture spread to areas like India, Palestine, and former Persian Empire. Next in the cultures, Greek and non-Greek cultures merged, creating a Greek-like culture called Hellenistic. Flourishing of the arts. The Hellenistic period saw a flourishing of the arts, literature, and science. Development of architecture. There was progress in architecture, including creation of libraries. Influence on Judaism and Christianity. Greek literature influenced the religious thought and scripture of Judaism and Christianity. Some major Hellenistic kingdom of Ptolemy, Soter, kingdom of Cassander, kingdom of Lysimachus, and kingdom of Seleucus Nicator. Now further, the history of the successor states that related from the carving of Alexander's empire shows the imperialistic drive to Greek generals, while also demonstrating the instability of their empires. Historians do not typically engage in counterfactual speculation, but it is very likely that had he lived longer, Alexander would have seen his empire unravel, as no structure was really in place to hold it together. Conclusively, we talk about captive Greece has conquered her root conqueror. The Roman poet Horace famously wrote in the late 1st century BCE. This comment about the deep influence of Greek culture on the Roman world, even after the Roman conquest of Greece was complete, continued to be the case well after the days, yeah, Horace. Ultimately, the impact of the Hellenization of the Mediterranean and the Middle East, which started with Alexander's conquest, lasted far beyond the Hellenistic kingdom, as the Greek language continued to be the language of the Eastern Roman Empire and subsequently the Byzantine Empire up until the conquest of the territory by the Ottomans in 1453 CE. In some respects, this spread of the Greeks and their civilization ultimately changed what it means to be Greek, or rather, it created a more universal Greek identity, which largely replaced the police specific views of citizenship and identity that existed before Philip's conquest of Greece, and yet certain cultural constants persisted. The first of these was Homer, whose epics continue to be a great and inspiration to the Greeks of the Roman world as they were to their archaic age contemporaries, counterparts. For instance, the Homeric values were likely the reason for the minimal advances in military technology in the Greek world, as honor was more important than military successes at all cost. The second cultural constant was the work of the philosophers Plato and Aristotle, in who shadows all consequent philosophers of the Greece Roman world labored. Even as the Greek speaking portion of the Roman Empire turned to Christianity, they could not abandon their philosophical roots, resulting, for instance, in the Gnostic heresies. So far, we discussed about Hellenistic period of Greek history. If you have done, please subscribe our YouTube channel.